Good morning, Mets fans, and happy Monday. Happy All-Star break. Welcome to an edition of Driving with Mr. Met. Another long overdue edition. I obviously did not get a chance to record any videos last week other than one. The Mets have been playing better of late, but as they enter the second half at 16 games under 500, better of late is too little too late, unfortunately. I'm starting to grasp that and accept it, which is hard for me because I'm usually optimistic to the end. But I want to talk about how the team's been performing, what's been happening since last Monday, and look forward to a second half that has got to be better than the first. There was a little part of me, that for the last month or so has been saying, this is the same team that has gone, that went 11-1. This is the same team that started the season 11-1. There's no reason to think that they can't do it again. And I kept telling myself that, and I've said it on here a few times. And I'm realizing that no, this is really not the same team that went 11-1 to start the season. This is a different team. This is a very flawed team. This is a team whose bullpen is atrocious, as evidenced by yesterday with Anthony Swarzak doing his Anthony Swarzak. I said it last week, I'll say it again. I think the day and time in where baseball overvalues relief pitchers has got to come to an end, because the Mets have tied up 2 years and $16 million in Anthony Swarzak, who is, for lack of a better word, utter trash at this point. He's been terrible this year. He's not even worth a replacement value player. He's a zero WAR guy. He may even be a negative WAR guy. And you don't pay $8 million a year to someone who's a negative WAR guy. So it just kind of leans on something I've been thinking more and more about. And it's time for Major League Baseball to start to get more out of their starting pitchers, to stop putting so much emphasis on needing the bullpen to get 3 and 4 innings worth of outs every single game. Because, when you get that far deep into into the other team's pitching staff, you're working against their 11th, 12th, 13th best pitchers like every other day. And that's why the age-old adage of take pitches, run up the pitch count, get that starting pitcher out of there, that whole Moneyball thing, that's where that came from, because you want to be facing their lesser players. And as we all know, relief pitchers, there's no way to put it softly, they're failed starters. Nobody comes up in baseball, in pitching at least, most people, I would say like 97%, come up as starting pitchers. They get drafted as starting pitchers. They start their minor league careers as starting pitchers, and then they evolve into, you know what, this guy's third and fourth pitches is just not going to develop. Let's make him a reliever. And that's what happens. That's what happens with most of these guys. And I'm just tired of, there being a guy who has a good year and it looks like, this is the guy, Anthony Swarzak. It's happening, and it's not just happened to the Mets this year. Brian Shaw, same exact thing, coming off a great year last year. He's been terrible this year. The Mets have Swarzak. He's been terrible. So yes, there are examples where guys are, where the opposite could be said, where you find that bullpen arm. And I'm not talking about closers here, although you could make the argument that they're not that different, other than a handful of the elite ones, where they'll sort of ebb and flow as well from season to season. But at the end of the day, the point that I want to make is it's time for baseball teams, and if baseball teams don't want to do it, then it's time for the Mets to stop overusing and subsequently overpaying for a bullpen. That has to stop, and the focus of what gets fixed and what gets addressed and what gets spent on has got to move to offense. Has got to move to improving this team's offense. And it's sort of a circle back to the 11-1 start. And I said, this isn't the same team. This team that got lucky. This team that had things break the right way. This team also had Yoenis Cespedes. And Cespedes through 30 some odd games that he played, or 40, whatever it was, 30 some games, whatever it was, he was on pace for the season to hit like 36 home runs and drive in 128 runs or 124 runs. If you sort of expand those numbers out through 162 games. I'm not saying he was going to sustain that pace of production all season, especially with the low batting average. It was going to even out. But that's been the difference in this team since the beginning of the year to now. And it's been the case since 2015 when he got here. Yoenis Cespedes is the key to the Mets' offensive success. And I don't know why, but if he's not there, other guys do not produce as well. There aren't as many clutch hits. There aren't as many. It's Cespedes. The Mets need him back, and it's looking as though he may come and join the team after the All-Star break as a off the disabled list as a DH in the Yankees series, where the Mets play 3 in the Bronx after the All-Star break. But it'll be interesting to see if his presence on the field in uniform, as a member of the team, not as an injured horse sitting in the dugout, but as an actual member of the team and contributing member of the team, if it makes any difference to the way the Mets have performed. I'd like to think it's going to, because I just feel like that's that one missing piece that explains things. It doesn't explain why Jay Bruce hasn't hit at all this year. As I said, from like the first week of the season, he's hurt, and I was right. And now the he's hurt turns into this is a chronic thing where he's going to be dealing with it, and it's just, injuries are a thing in baseball. They are. They just seem to sting the Mets a lot more often than they sting other teams. With the exception of the Dodgers, who seem to have as bad luck, if not worse luck, than the Mets do as it pertains to injuries. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. So the All-Star game is tomorrow. The Home Run Derby is tonight. I'm not going to watch the Home Run Derby. I don't care. I don't like the fact that there are 7 National League players and only 1 American League representative. That's just, what's the point of that? I mean, it was always supposed to be head-to-head AL versus NL, and that's not happening anymore. It's just sort of like, what's going on? But anyhow, that's tonight. I don't care. I'm sure some people do, but I don't. Whatever. Tomorrow night's the All-Star game. Jacob deGrom made a bid yesterday, and you don't hear Jake do stuff like this. Jake went out of his way to say being selected to the All-Star team is a great honor, but being named the starting pitcher for the All-Star game is another level. I'm paraphrasing. I think that's what he said, or at least very close to it. But good for Jake. I'm glad that he went out and said that, honestly, because it needs to be said. It needs to be said, and the case needs to be made that deGrom is having a better season despite the win total than anybody else in the National League right now. And he deserves that starting spot. And I understand that it's going to end up going to Scherzer because the game's being played in Washington and whatever, his stupid discolored eyes. So this way, Scherzer can shoot up before the game and get himself all roided up and have his veins popping out of his skull when there's an error made behind him. And I have to say, this week when the Mets played the Nats, and they split with the Nats this week, but when the Mets played the Nats and Scherzer was on the mound, his little childish baby reaction when a play wasn't made behind him, where he screamed in his glove and his eyeballs got ginormous, and you could sort of see the steroid marks pop out of his arm. And I have to say, I have no evidence whatsoever to suggest that Max Scherzer uses steroids. I can't stand how he behaves on the mound. It just drives me nuts. And I probably would like him if he was a Met, I guess. I don't know. But I did not like, whether he was a Met or not, or a Nat or not, or anybody, I did not like the way he showed up his teammates. When there's a bad play made behind him, he screams in his glove and he gets all mad, and you can see that he's pissed off on the mound. And, on the flip side, you look at the way DeGrom handles adversity, which he literally faces every single time he's on the mound, and the fact that his team can't score a run for him. And you don't see him freaking out. You don't see him getting all boo-boo face on the mound. You don't see him kicking dirt and glaring at his players and screaming in his glove. He might do that in the locker room, maybe. I mean, all reports say no. He doesn't. He's very even keel, and he's not putting on a show for anybody when he says, you know, I don't blame anybody. I'm not mad at the team. He should be, but he's not. But the bottom line is DeGrom is a far more mature player than Scherzer is. And it isn't going to matter, like I said, because Scherzer is going to get the nod to start the All-Star game. But I just wanted to mention the fact that I was really glad to see DeGrom sort of sell himself as, you know, put his own hat in the ring and sell himself as the guy who probably should be starting the All-Star game. Anyway, the All-Star game, as I said, is tomorrow. I don't care who wins. I really don't. I'll watch just because, and at least it's not on ESPN. So I don't have to deal with that broadcasting crew. So the Mets resume the season on Friday, playing the Yankees. I will be back either tomorrow or Wednesday. I want to do a recap of some of the predictions I made at the beginning of the year. This will be the second year in a row that I've made predictions and where I've been way the hell off. So I want to review some of them and talk about them again either tomorrow or Wednesday of this week. So until then, I thank you for watching. I apologize for the delay between videos, but I'm back and should be for the foreseeable future. Till next time, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.